There's a moment on the awakening path when something shifts. At first, your awakening is very personal. You're healing. You're learning to trust your intuition. You're rebuilding, or maybe building for the first time, a real relationship with the divine. And that work is sacred. It's necessary. It's yours. But then something changes. You start to sense that what you've been learning might not just be for you. And when that moment comes, it can feel both exciting and a little overwhelming. If that's where you are right now, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Laura V, Awakening Facilitator and Circle Leader. And today I want to talk about something I see happening in so many spiritually aware women right now. I want to start by describing something I see again and again in the women I work with, because I think you're going to recognize yourself in this. She's been on the awakening path for a while, years maybe. She's done the inner work. She's healed things that once defined her life. She's deepened her connection with spirit or her guides or her intuition, whatever language feels right for her. And she's changed profoundly in ways she can barely put into words. But now something is stirring, a restlessness, a quiet knowing, a sense that everything she's been through, everything she's learned and integrated and become might be preparing her for something more. And the question that keeps surfacing is this: what do I do with all of this? That question is a turning point, and I want to talk about what it means because I don't think it's random. I think it's actually a very natural and important stage of the awakening path. I remember very clearly when that moment happened for me. I had been doing deep, intensive healing work for several years. In 2023, I worked with a healer, a shaman, and an astrologer who guided me through 8 sessions of embodied awakening work over about 2.5 months. It was the most profound healing I had ever experienced. I won't go into all the details here, that's a whole other video. But what I can tell you is that by the end of that work, something had fundamentally shifted in me. I felt lighter, brighter. I was more clear. I was more connected to my higher self and my guides than ever before. My friends noticed. Many of them said, keep going. One woman that had known me before this transformation, when she saw me after, she cried. And then one other woman just said, wow. And I thought, I want other women to feel this, not just hear about it, but actually experience it. A few weeks after that work settled, I heard very clearly from my guides, go guide 20 women into embodied awakening. Now, I want to be honest with you. When I thought about serving others, I would ask myself, how? And I would try to go find ways to do it. But this, it was like it was all set up for me because I just had to say yes. I had a friend who was scheduled to do 2 psychic fairs within the month. And so I asked her if I could uh, sit at her booth with her, and she said, sure. And so as women came to her booth, I would ask them, do you believe in you have a higher self? And they said, yes. And I said, would you like to embody her? And they said, sure. And that's all I had to do. And after a month, I had guided 30 women into embodied awakening. So after that, I was led to create a program, and 2 women who had seen the transformation in me said yes. And then the work began. Now, I'm not telling you that story so you can copy it. Your path will look different. Your guidance will look different. Your opportunities will look different. I'm telling you because of something my mentor said to me early on that I have never forgotten. As you walk the awakened path, service opportunities begin to appear. Not forced, not manufactured, not hustled into existence. They appear, much like what happened for me. And the reason is because your awakening was never meant to stop with you. Here's what I believe and what I've seen over and over again in the women I work with. The healing you've done, the inner work you've walked through, the connection you've built with your own guidance, all of that was preparing you, not just for your own peace and clarity, but for others. It might look like leading a circle or offering healing session, maybe mentoring someone younger on the path, or creating something that has never existed before. It might be something you can't even name yet. But the stirring you feel, the restlessness, the sense that there's more, that is not wishful thinking. That's not the ego. That's your awakened self asking to become expression. Now, I want to speak to something because I know some of you are thinking, but I'm not ready. I haven't figured it out yet. Who am I to guide anyone? I understand the feeling completely, but I want to tell you how it actually works because it's not what you think. For months, I was showing up at psychic development meetings, practicing learning, but I wasn't owning it. I wasn't calling myself a medium. I wasn't saying out loud, this is real, this is mine, this is what I can do. But one day, I finally said it out loud in the room, and everyone cheered. That's the first step. Just owning that you have a gift. That's it. That's enough to start. Then the next step is offering it in a free circle at a community event, somewhere low stakes where you can just show up and let something move through you. I remember going to my friend's booth at that event. Oh, right. This was years before. I, the same friend had a booth at an event, and it was my birthday. And after going to a few other friends' booths, I came back to her and I said, hey, could I possibly get a booth at the next show you're doing? I just knew it was the right time and that I wanted to do this. Something inside me prompted me to ask. And of course, I was able to get a booth, and that was my first show. So the thing about that is I was following my guidance and I wasn't pushing it down, and I asked. A few years later, back in 2023, after that significant healing process had happened, I was led to ask my mentor if I could start a women's healing circle in his membership. And he said, sure, let's do it. And I thought, wait, I've only been healed for a few months. Isn't this a little early? Shouldn't we be talking about this? But no, and actually, I asked him a few times, are you sure? And he said, Laura, I would not offer this to you if I didn't trust you and believe in you. I thought, wow, okay. And so I got started, and I had a friend who was a woman therapist to help kind of be there and make sure I wasn't doing anything wrong. And once I got her stamp of approval, I kept going. But man, I was challenged every step of the way because every month I would email him and say, I don't think I should do this. It's like, I don't know. And he said, Laura, just show up. That's all I'm asking of you. Just show up. And that's really all I had to do. And I knew I could do that much. I could show up. And so every time I showed up, and after showing up, after working through all of those different ways of resistance, eventually I started enjoying it. And like, okay, this is actually fun. But that was the thing I learned was by just showing up, it allowed my higher self to work through me because there was one circle in particular that I thought, oh, I had totally messed this up. And 10 minutes after the circle, I got an email from one of the women, and she said, that was the most beautiful circle yet. And I thought, hold up, we just had two very different experiences. But I learned a really important lesson. Really, truly, all you have to do is just show up. So, if you are feeling that shift, if something in you is starting to sense that your awakening might be asking something more of you, you're not imagining it. This is a natural stage of the path, and it's a beautiful one, and you don't have to navigate it alone. Awaken Woman Rising is a community for women who are feeling exactly this transition, where awakening begins to turn into expression and contribution, where the inner work starts moving outward. It's a space where you can explore that calling with other women who are on the path, who won't look at you strangely when you talk about your guides or your inner knowing, who are asking the same questions you are. Because your awakening isn't just for you, and you were never meant to rise alone. If this resonates, you can find me at lauravistudios.com. Join the Awaken Women Rising community list. That's where I share practices, insights, and circle invitations. There's also a link in the description box for this video, and I will see you there. Bye-bye.